This time next week, it will be Fright Fest 2020. But let's go ahead and talk about the week that was and the week that will be before we get there. Hey, what's up, bookworms? Mike back with another weekly update as we're closing out September and headed closer to October, a month that I have been anticipating for quite a while. If you've been following the channel, you know that. But let's talk about the week that was and the week that will be here on the channel. And that begins, as always, with what am I reading? Well, I did finish Battleground. You know, I don't think you guys can ever see my Kindle. Can you see it? I don't think you can. It's coming. There we go. All right, so yeah, there's a it made the whole room go dark. There's some lighting issues when it comes to the Kindle. It doesn't really want to pick that up. But anyhow, I did finish Battleground, and as you know, the last couple of weeks I've talked about that I cannot talk about it like at all. So just know that the review will be dropping 12:01 a.m. on Tuesday morning, and that is going to be my time here in Texas. So if you want to look up what Central Standard Time is and know when that review will be dropping, I will be doing the non-spoiler one there, and then the next day I'll be just like last time, and then the next day I'll be having some spoiler talk. That's going to be the first Dresden Files review that isn't full recap, summary, spoiler thing. If you've been watching my recent Stormlight videos, that's kind of the method that I'm moving to with spoilers, just because I feel like it's the best way to not have the, well, you didn't talk about this, and this guy, you know, the people who treat me like I'm Cliff Notes. And I'm not there to be someone for you to not read the book. You know, I look at this like the kids in high school who just wanted to go, you know, watch the movie instead of read the book. So if people were using those to catch themselves up, hey, I get that. But now that there's new books out, I don't think I need to do that. So I think that a lot of Dresden Files fans are going to read this in one evening. I think it's probably around the length of like a turncoat or something like that. It's really not that long. Pretty much, it seemed to me like it was about the same length as Peace Talks was. So yeah, if you finish that in a day, you should be able to finish this in a day. I think most of you guys listen to it. At least that's the feedback that I get, is most of you listen to it, not read it. So I don't believe that you'll have any problems finishing that within a day or two, and that's why I'm going to do the spoiler talk the next day. But just know that I think you will enjoy those reviews. What else? I finally finished The Hunger by Omakatsu, and I say finally because this wasn't one that I felt like was an emergency. It was something that I'm going to be doing in October, so I kind of let it fall by the wayside just a little bit. Also finished The Willows by Algernon Blackwood. This is one that's going to be also for Fright Fest, and that was literally like less than 100 pages, so it wasn't a big deal. And I said, you know what? I've got a week before the next book in the Greatcoats read-along. So what can I move up? So I went back to The Banished Lands, Mr. John Gwynne, about halfway through this. Guys, you use the term page-turner all the time. I don't think you know what a page-turner is until you read a John Gwynne book. You guys know how I feel about Mr. Gwynne at this point on the channel. I love bookmarks. You know, and I get a lot of comments about this bookmark. I've had that thing for 20 years, man. It's awesome. Oh, reliable. Never lets me down. Anyhow, yes, very good. Very good. I won't be doing individual reviews for these because I've already reviewed the first book in Blood and Bone. But again, guys, if you haven't read John Gwynne, please, man, do it. Do it. I don't know how you've watched the channel for this long and not got interested in John Gwynne, because not only is he an awesome dude to talk to, he is a fantastic author. And I'm on my 6th John Gwynne book right now, and I have yet to feel disappointed. So very exciting stuff that I will be wrapping up The Banished Lands here probably next month, if not a little bittersweet. But we'll talk about that when we get there. And that leads me into what am I going to read. Starting on the 1st, I'll be headed back into the channel read-along. That is book number 3 in the Greatcoat series, as Saints Blood. Now, it was very tempting for me to start this a little early, but I feel really bad when I'm like encouraging discussion on the Discord for this. And hey, by the way, I've already finished it. You know, I felt kind of like that last month when I didn't get to start it until like the 2nd week, and people were already done with it, and I was like, well, that kind of sucks. But the discussion was always really good. Again, at this point, I'm like, hey, I keep telling you, it's not too late to catch up. You know, if you want to catch up and by the end of the month, maybe be there for when we're going to do the last one, again, that conversation's always there. You can always go back there. I leave the spoiler threads open even after we finish a book for the month. So you can always go back and read that after you finish and dive in. There is a general discussion tab for Great Codes where people aren't going to spoil anything for you. So if you want to do that, jump on the Discord. I've got the link in the description below. You can join us on this read along. And book number 3 starts for October here in just over a week. You know, it's not an official read along, but it was one of those things on the channel where I said, look, for October, I'm going to be reading one big horror novel, and it's going to be Weaveworld by Clive Barker. Forget about the whole is it horror or not. Anyway, this is the novel I'm going to be reading in October that is somewhat horror. But there is going to be several people who have decided to join me. So it's not an official read-along or anything like that. But there's a number of people on the Discord. So again, if you want to jump on the Discord and join us for that, I think we'll be, as soon as we finish Great Codes, we'll be diving into this. I'm estimating, it doesn't take longer than 3 or 4 days to do a Great Codes book, but for other people that don't read too fast, I think probably the second week of October is when a lot of us plan to start this. So I'm excited to finally read some Clive Barker. And another Kindle one that I can't probably get the camera to see. Yeah, I got to figure out a way to do this a little better, don't I? That is the next book in The Burning by Evan Winter. That is Fires of Vengeance. I said before that I got my embargo date, review dates wrong on there. So I plan on getting that review up just sometime, like, probably about a week before the book actually comes out or something like that. And maybe next time I can nail that down better with the publisher and understand when the actual release dates are. But that's pretty much what I've got planned up here next. If you want to know more about what I'm going to read, let's talk about this week on the channel, because I did do my fall TBR update. And the reason I wanted to do that was to show everyone, look, we are clearing the decks before Malazan happens. So I know that my TBR videos are always kind of laughable in hindsight because I change them so much. This is it. This is everything I want to clear off the decks before New Year, before January 1 and we start Guardians of the Moon. So I feel like that's about as ironclad of a TBR video that I'll ever have on this channel, because not only do I have this lockdown where nothing else is getting in, I have the dates specified to when I'm doing all this stuff, but it all just depends on Rhythm of War and how long that book takes me to get through. And that also, I did finish up Stormlight September this week with my review for Oathbringer. Very interesting conversation compared to the other two, because if I take the first two, I'm pretty much just completely glowing. I think my only criticism is that you might find it long, but I don't. With Oathbringer, that's the only one I think I have some criticisms of, and I have a character criticism. And despite the fact that I've said I don't care for one character and a cast of hundreds, that apparently is what everybody likes to focus on. But again, like I've always said, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm not going to bullshit you. I'm going to give you my opinion, and it's okay if you disagree. I don't know why people are so just feeling like they just got to fight about this, but hey, it is what it is. At least, generating conversation. That's all I ever want to do. But I also did my spoiler conversation for Oathbringer, and I think it was some of those things that kind of revisiting it for that review, I started rereading parts that I didn't really care for the first time around, and I think that I actually, the arrow is really pointing up on that book. So I think it's one of those things that's the expectations were just so high after Words of Radiance for me. And maybe that might have played into it. I can admit that I might have had the bar set just a little too high when I read that, and time has been a healer on that. But, we're just over a month away, well, I guess about a month and a half away from Rhythm of War here. And I've started reading those preview chapters, and I'm very excited to talk about those in the future. What else? I continued into the multiverse with Stephen King. That is for different seasons. I broke that up into different parts, and we talked about The Body this time, which a lot of people know more as Stand By Me, the movie adaptation. But some really great conversation in there, because there's one comment I got in there that was really amazing, just saying that, this is someone who has never left Cairo, Egypt in their life, and reading King transported him back to his childhood in a way that someone who doesn't have any idea what small town rural America should feel like. And that's just what King's superpower is. And it was just a really, really great comment. And what I said was, it was look, King can reach anyone everywhere. I really feel like that. So I hope you'll check that out. I know I always gripe about how my Stephen King stuff doesn't do very much in there, but I always feel like the conversation that's there is really meaningful. And that is a story I think is very, very important to a lot of people, especially in my age bracket or a little older, because it does take place in the 1960s. So really, in my opinion, the best coming of age story maybe ever. It's just a fantastic little read. It's less than 150 pages. Can't recommend it enough. Hope you'll check out that video. And that's kind of it for what we did on the channel this week. Some things got a little busy, so I had to knock a couple things off. I didn't get to do my spoiler talk for The Trouble with Peace by Joe Abercrombie, but I did guest on the Fantology podcast. I don't know if you guys have listened to them. I highly recommend them. Very, very nice guys. Just talk about fantasy books. Red Rising, Joe Abercrombie, Lycanius, Wheel of Time. They've done some Malazan stuff on there. So a very good channel that does both non-spoiler and spoiler reviews. Good stuff. They're doing actually breakdowns right now of every single one of the preview chapters that Sanderson has released for The Rhythm of War. So great channel. I talked with them last night about The Trouble with Peace, and I felt like that kind of got out some of my spoiler stuff. But I'm not saying that video is off the schedule permanently. I might get to it a little later. It's just, real life this week kind of happened, and I'm trying to get everything wrapped up before Fright Fest starts. And at this point, it's not a lack of ideas for content on this channel. It is a lack of time, with the kids virtual learning and stuff. It's really, really being a pain in my ass. Let's talk about some next week's plans. I'm going to be wrapping up book number 2 of The Great Coats with a review of Knight's Shadow. I think in the future what I'd like to do is record that review right after I finish it, because I was thinking about it today and I was like, I don't remember what this. Did this happen? I had to actually I had to cross-reference with my wife and be like, did this happen because of this or because of this? Because I wasn't sure. And I think that's the problem sometimes when you're reading like 4 or 5 series at once, is you start to get them a little crossed over. And I think Lycanius just might have scrambled my brain a little bit. that might be it. But I am very much looking forward to talking about Knight's Shadow, a book that I had a great time with. And also, like I alluded to earlier, I will be doing my Battleground review, both the spoiler and the non-spoiler version. Look for those on Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. And then Thursday, I am dropping the official viewing schedule for Fright Fest 2020. So I'm very excited to do this. I'm just over the moon that so many seem to be interested in me talking about horror, a genre that I feel like, I say for all things fantasy, sci-fi, and horror, and I feel like horror is going way down here a little bit. So I'm definitely happy to dedicate a month to the genre that has defined me as a young man. So I'm very excited to do that. I don't have a ton of other stuff outside of books to talk about this week, because movie and TV stuff, it doesn't feel like there's a lot new to talk about, but there was some big gaming news that I think needs to be addressed a little bit here. Basically, Microsoft has decided that they want to own everything. Me and my friend Kyle, back when this was just a media channel, we did a show where we would just, do the live broadcast of E3 and comment on it as it happened, because we thought we were Twitch gamers. We had no idea what we were doing. Still don't. And what I had said then was like, how does Microsoft get back in there competing on the Xbox with the other big hitters, Nintendo and Sony? And I said, I think what they need to do is, since they're struggling with exclusives, with first-party titles, they need to go out, use some of that Bill Gates money, go out there and acquire some companies. And they did. Even they got like Ninja Theory and things like that. They did a couple of them. I never saw this. They bought Bethesda. Freaking Bethesda. Yeah, and all of the things that come along with it, like Obsidian and id Software. So these guys just, oh my God, that is huge. Because I think that what people don't realize, the big deal with this, it isn't just the exclusives, is that they're going to put Bethesda's entire back catalog on Game Pass. And Game Pass is really kicking ass right now. I think they went from like 10 to 15 million subscribers in like the last 6 months. That's insane. It is basically, I see it basically replacing Steam someday. It really could get that big. And for all the people that act like, oh yeah, Xbox is in trouble, they're going under, yeah, PS4, PS5 for Live. Look, I don't understand the console war things. I think that there's room for all these things. We have a PS4, we have an Xbox One, and we kids have a Nintendo Switch. I don't do the brand loyalty thing. If it's good, I'll play it. I mostly transitioned to PC gaming, but there are things. once in a while that I'll say, hey, I'd really like to play that. But yeah, I don't understand the whole console wars. This is like people rooting for their favorite sports team or something. I don't understand it at all. So I'm never that guy. What I look at this stuff is just strictly from business standpoint. And Microsoft making the decision to basically have no more Xbox exclusives by making their games both on PC and on their console and making it cross-play was genius. Because I feel like Sony has been very anti-consumer when it comes to anything like that. Microsoft has even let people my kid can play on his Switch. He can play Minecraft with a friend who has an Xbox because they're not exclusivity dicks like Sony has turned into sometimes. So I look at this from business standpoints and I'd be like, look, everyone that acts like, oh, well, Sony just can't be beat. They're just some monster that can't be beat. Remember a generation ago when 360 completely whipped the PS3's ass? Guys, this flips all the time. You look at every single generation. Remember when Nintendo looked like they were dead and buried? Boom, they came out with the Wii and completely took over the world again. So the generation consoles always are a new thing where anyone can kind of take over. And what I'll say is that I feel like, even though I'm not going to be a part of this, and I'll tell you why in a second, I think that I really like what Microsoft is doing. It's very, very business savvy. And I think Phil Spencer, I think he gets gamers, I think, and I feel like that there's anyone who's going to lead Xbox back to the top. Because look, I'll be full disclosure, I hate the Xbox One. That thing, every single time I turn it on, the internet can't connect anymore, or there's some kind of update you need to do that don't work, or it just has so many problems. And plus, the first party games were kind of crap, So it's one of those things where I'm definitely not fanning for anybody. I look at this from a business side and I say I like the moves that Microsoft's making right now. But $7.5 billion, that's almost twice what Disney paid for Star Wars. And so I've seen all these people being like, oh, Sony needs to go out and panic buy someone now. Why? Sony's in a great position right now. They just completely dominated the last console generation. They can silently rest on their laurels, and I think they need to basically pay attention to what's going on, be more willing to adapt to what gamers want, but they don't need to go out and panic buy Konami or Capcom or Sega. I think that's just ridiculous, you guys. But I don't know why people treat some of this stuff like it's sports teams, like it's my team, ride or die. It's just so weird to me. But here's the thing. I am not part of this pre-ordering pandemonium that's going on right now. I have not pre-ordered a console since the GameCube, like 20 years ago. You guys even remember the GameCube? And here's why. Every time I pre-ordered a system, either there was some problem with it, there was some delivery or pickup problem with it where they just didn't have enough of them, or you just end up spending a lot of money on a lot of launch games that are very forgettable, just so you'll have new things to play on your brand new overpriced system. Another thing is the system prices have just gotten ridiculous. It's like, well, we got to put this, we got to put this. Just make the damn thing play games. That's what I want. I don't need another Blu-ray player. I don't need another streaming device. I don't need any of that stuff. Just give me a game system for $200. And you know what? That's what Nintendo did. And look how much the Switch is dominating. They cannot stop selling those things. I mean, they're still hard to find those things sometimes because they just made a game system. And I think that Microsoft and Sony are too busy worrying about dunking on each other that they're forgetting the consumer sometimes. And the biggest thing that these companies do that drives me absolutely nutty is I feel like I have to beg them to take my money at launch. You see how this pre-ordering pandemonium, as I call it right now, where everyone's freaking out because they can't pre-order a PS5, they can't pre-order the new Xbox. I don't even know what the new Xbox is called. Whoever's naming, talk about business here, whoever's naming these Xbox systems needs to be fired. I don't know. I can't tell you which one's which after the Xbox One. There's so many. Series X, X2, 3. I don't know. It's ridiculous. I can't even keep them straight anymore. Anyhow, why do I have to beg these companies to take my money? But guys, this has been going on since 1996 when the N64 came out, and Nintendo successfully proved that if you create something called false scarcity, it will completely hype up your system because they'll think, well, we can't keep it on shelves because it just sells too well. 25 years this has been going on, and every single release they have some excuse about how this chip's hard to make or they didn't anticipate demand or something like that. I understand why they do it. I just hate it, and that's why I'll never pre-order one of these systems because I hate begging people to take my money. It is an absolute insult to the consumer, and I think it is childish. And people modeling after Nintendo, who was a toy company, they were successful at this because they were a toy company. They knew how to do this, and I hate that this is why every console that comes out, not only is it more expensive, but it's like impossible to get one at launch unless you just completely just refresh and try to pre-order somewhere, or if you want to brave the crowds and go out and try to find one. It shouldn't be like that. It should not. You should have enough to meet the demand of your customers. Did no one pay attention to what happened to Dreamcast? Anyone? So I'm not making any big predictions about the next generation of consoles. I just say I'm glad that I'm a PC gamer. I'd rather spend that money now and just upgrade my PC. All the Xbox games are going to be on PC, so I'll be happy. Some of the Sony exclusives, I'll cross that bridge when it gets to it. I'll usually look into the consoles when, after that first price drop. Usually about a year later. That's when I'll finally think about getting into it, and the lineups are a little better. But a little longer on games this week than I probably intended to. But that's big news. I couldn't believe that Bethesda. I mean, this is a company. Elder Scrolls, Starfield's coming out. I mean, it's possible now that we could get Fallout New Vegas 2 because Obsidian's under the same roof. That's insane, man. This is great. This is great. I think this is a great thing for gamers. It really is. I felt like Bethesda's really kind of went down, and I think that getting them in-house is going to be a big deal. So I'm excited to see where this heads. Again, no Jersey fanning from me on these things. I'm just looking at this from a business standpoint, and I like what Microsoft's doing. It makes a lot of sense, and I think crossplay is absolutely genius. Game Pass seems to really be resonating with gamers, and I think that's the arrow is pointing up big time, a big time green arrow to the green Xbox, I think, right now. So Microsoft, like what you're doing. Impress me. That's what I'll say. So guys, what have you been doing? What do you listen to? What do you play? And what do you read? And drop in the comments and let me know. And I will talk to you guys next week.